You step up to the ball. You feel that little lurch before you even swing. The hands rush, the shoulders fire first, and the ball sprays right or drops weak and short, again. I lived inside that feeling for 30 years. I bought the lessons. I bought the training aids. Nothing fixed the one thing that was actually broken: the order my body moved in. Then an old man in a quiet town south of Kyoto showed me a 6-second move that had nothing to do with golf. It came from a 400-year-old way of drawing a bow, and it repaired my sequence in a single afternoon. Stay with me, because near the end I'm going to hand you the exact 8-part rhythm the archery masters of the Heki school wrote down in the 1400s. A rhythm you can feel in your own living room tonight, with no club, no ball, and no lesson fee. You don't need to fly to Japan. You just need 6 seconds and the truth nobody sold you. Let me tell you how I got there, because I did not believe a word of it at first. I was 54 when my scores stopped improving and started to embarrass me. I had a decent swing on the range, smooth practice moves. But the second a real shot mattered, everything collapsed. My upper body would jump ahead of my lower body, and I'd throw the club at the ball like a man swatting a fly. I called it the yips. I called it getting older. I called it a dozen things that were all wrong. A friend of mine, a retired engineer, had spent years working in Osaka. He listened to me complain over coffee one morning, and he said something I still remember. He said, "You know, the Japanese don't think about the golf swing the way we do. They think about it the way they think about a sword cut or a bow draw. It's not one motion, it's an order of motions. Miss the order, miss the shot." I thought that was poetic nonsense. I'd heard enough guru talk to last a lifetime. But he made me an introduction, and a few months later I found myself standing in a small dojo in Nara Prefecture, watching something I did not expect to change my golf game at all. There was an old teacher there. I won't pretend I can spell his name the way you'd hear it, so I'll just call him the Sensei, the way everyone did. He was in his late 70s. He'd taught Kyudo, Japanese archery, for more than 50 years. And on the side, because half the town played, he had quietly become the man local golfers came to when their swings fell apart. He didn't watch my golf swing, not at first. He handed me a bow, a real one, taller than I am. The Japanese longbow, the yumi, is a strange, beautiful thing, gripped below its center. And he told me to draw it, slowly. I yanked it back the way I do everything, all arms and shoulders rushing to the finish. He shook his head. He put his hand flat on my lower belly, a few inches below the navel, and he pressed. He said one word, "Here." Then he said, "The arrow leaves last. Everything before it happens in order." I want to stop and tell you why that mattered, because at the time I didn't get it, and if you're a golfer you might not either. Not yet. Here's the thing nobody explained to me in 30 years of Western lessons. A good golf swing is not a single athletic burst. It's a chain. The ground pushes into your feet. That force travels up through your hips. The hips pull the torso pulls the arms deliver the hands, and the club, the very last link, releases into the ball. Ground first, club head last. When that order holds, you get effortless speed, the kind where the ball rockets off the face and you swear you barely swung. When that order breaks, when the hands or shoulders fire first, you lose everything. Power leaks, the face twists, the ball sprays. Researchers have a name for this now. They call it the kinetic chain or the kinematic sequence. Sports scientists have measured it with motion capture on tour players and weekend players alike, and what they found is almost unfair. The elite players and the amateurs often swing at similar speeds with their bodies. The difference is the timing. The pros move in a clean, rising wave. Hips peak, then torso, then arm, then club, each one handing off to the next at exactly the right instant. Amateurs, the wave is scrambled. Everything fires at once, or worse, in reverse. That's the whole ballgame. Not strength, not flexibility, order. And here's what stopped me cold that afternoon in Nara. The old sensei had never read a single one of those studies. He didn't own a motion capture rig. He was teaching the exact same principle: ground first, arrow last, from a tradition that was already old when the first modern golf club was ever forged. So the question that started eating at me was simple. If this knowledge is 400 years old, and if modern science just confirmed it with expensive cameras, then why did nobody ever teach it to me this way? Why did I spend thousands of dollars and 30 years chasing the wrong thing? The answer to that is where this gets uncomfortable, but we'll get there. First, let me show you what he actually did to me, because this is the part you can use. The sensei took the bow away and had me stand with my arms crossed over my chest, a club shaft laid across my shoulders. Nothing in my hands to rush, and he made me move in slow motion, counting. He wanted the whole backswing and the whole downswing to take about 6 seconds. Painfully slow, slower than you think you can stand. And in that slowness, something became impossible to hide. When I moved that slowly, I could feel, clear as a bell, that my shoulders wanted to start the trip back down before my hips had even finished going up. I could feel the link jumping the line. For 30 years I could not feel it, because everything happened in half a second, and my brain just filled in a story. Slow it down to 6 seconds, and the lie has nowhere to hide. That was the first gift. Slowness is a microscope. You cannot fix a sequence you cannot feel, and at full speed you will never feel it. Try this tonight. You don't need a club. Cross your arms, stand like you're about to swing, and turn back and through over a slow count of 6. Feel which part of you wants to jump the gun. I promise you, you have a leak, and I promise you, you've never noticed it, because you've never gone slow enough to catch it in the act. But slowness alone wasn't the fix. Slowness just showed me the problem. The fix was the order itself. And that's where the old man's tradition went deeper than any lesson I'd ever paid for. Now, let me tell you why this was buried. Because this is the part that made me angry. When I got home, I started digging. I wanted to know why the way I'd been taught was so different from what an old archer in Nara understood by instinct. And what I found followed the money, the way these things always do. Think about how the modern golf swing gets sold to you. Every spring there's a new method, a new guru with a new phrase. Stack and tilt, rotary this, one plane that. Every one of them a book, a video series, a subscription, a launch monitor session at $90 an hour. The entire business depends on the swing staying mysterious. If the fix were simple and free and 400 years old, what exactly would they sell you next spring? And the training aids. My garage is a graveyard of them. Weighted clubs, alignment sticks, straps that pin your arm to your chest, gadgets that beep. I added it up once. Over the years, I'd spent more than $2,000 on devices that promised to fix my swing. $2,000. Not one of them taught me the order of movement. Because a gadget can't sell you a sequence. A sequence is a feeling, and a feeling is free. That's the quiet trick of the whole industry. They can't patent the ground pushing up through your feet. They can't put a barcode on the right order of a movement your grandfather's body already knew how to make. So they sell you around it. They sell you the parts they can package. The grip trainer, the posture brace, the $500 driver that promises the speed your own sequence was supposed to give you for nothing. The old sensei charged the local golfers almost nothing. A few of them brought him vegetables. One brought him a bottle of sake at the New Year. He told me, through my friend translating, that teaching order was not a product. It was closer to teaching someone to breathe correctly. You don't rent that out by the hour. You give it, and it stays given. I sat with that for a long time, all those years, all that money. And the thing I actually needed had been written down before the first Europeans ever set foot in Japan. So let me take you back, because the history here is real, and it's the anchor that made me finally trust this. The way of the bow in Japan is called Kyudo, and within it there's an older, harder discipline tied to warfare, refined by a man named Heki Danjo Masatsugu in the late 1400s. He founded a school of shooting, the Heki school, around the 1480s, and its teachings spread through the warrior class over the following century. What made his approach survive for 500 years wasn't mysticism, it was that it worked under pressure. A samurai drawing a bow on horseback could not afford a scrambled sequence. If his hands fired before his center, the arrow died in the air, and so, quite possibly, did he. Out of that life-or-death need came something remarkable. The masters broke the single act of shooting an arrow into a fixed sequence of stages. Later formalized, this became known as the hassetsu, the 8 stages of the shot. 8 distinct movements, in a strict order, each one flowing into the next, none of them allowed to jump ahead. Footing, posture, readying the bow, raising it, drawing, the full draw and hold, the release, and the finish, the lingering stillness after the arrow is gone. Now hold that next to a golf swing. Set your feet, set your posture, take your grip and your aim. Start the takeaway, complete the backswing, transition and hold your center as the lower body leads. Release through the ball, and finish in balance, watching the shot fly. It is the same skeleton. Ground first, center holds. The last link fires last. And the finish is not decoration, it's proof that the order held all the way through. The archers understood something the golf world forgot. The stillness at the end tells you the truth about the motion. If you can't finish balanced and quiet, your sequence was broken somewhere upstream. The old sensei used to say the finish doesn't lie. If I stumbled or fell back after a swing, he didn't need to see the rest. He knew a link had jumped the line. If you're sitting there right now, feeling in your gut that your shoulders have been firing before your hips for years, and you're tired of a garage full of gadgets that never named the real problem, you don't need one more device. You need the one piece Japan never removed. That's exactly what I put into my collection, the Japan Simple Complete System. Inside, you'll find the body-shaped secret Japanese golfers use before the swing even starts, the pause. The one beat that kills tension and adds yards, and the hip-led downswing that stops the over-the-top move for good. There are 3 living room drills too. No range, no clubs required. So you can build a calmer, longer swing tonight, right where you're standing. And you can prove this to yourself for free before you spend a thing. Tonight, cross your arms, take one slow swing over a count of 6, and feel which part of you jumps the gun. If you feel that leak in your own body, you already know this is real. The fastest way to get the books is to scan the QR code right there on your screen, or go to the link in the description, or the pinned comment. Call it what you like, but the slowness is only the first door, because next I want to show you why slowness alone was never the actual fix. I want you to hear how old this is. When Heki Danjo was refining this, Columbus had not yet crossed the Atlantic. The knowledge that just now shows up in sports science journals as the kinematic sequence was already a formalized teaching, passed hand to hand, before the modern world existed. It never needed rediscovering. It only needed remembering. But here's what kept nagging me. Fine, the samurai needed it for war. Why should the order of a bow draw transfer so perfectly to a golf swing? A bow and a club are nothing alike. And the answer is the deepest thing the old man taught me, so let me give it to you plainly. It transfers because it was never about the bow, it was about the body. Every powerful human movement that sends energy outward, throwing, striking, cutting, drawing, obeys the same law. Big muscles start it, small muscles finish it. The center leads, the extremity delivers. A slow, heavy hip is the engine. A fast, light hand is the whip. Get the order right, and the small end moves faster than you could ever move it on its own, because it's borrowing speed from everything that came before it. That's why a good golf shot feels like nothing. The club head is going 100 miles an hour, but your hands feel quiet, because they didn't do the work. They just arrived last, at the end of a wave that started in the ground. The sensei showed me this with a wet towel once. He held it by one end and cracked it like a whip. The tip snapped so fast it popped. Then he told me to try to make the tip move fast by shaking the whole towel at once. It just flopped, dead. Your arms are the towel, he said. You keep trying to shake the whole thing. Snap the base, and the tip finds its own speed. I have never heard the golf swing explained better than by a man who had never played golf, holding a wet towel. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking, because I thought it too. You're thinking, that's lovely, but I'm not flying to Japan, I don't have a dojo, and I've got about 20 spare minutes twice a week between everything else life demands. This is the part I built for you, for the real life you actually have, in the home you already own, this week. You do not need a single thing you don't already have. Here's the drill exactly as I still do it in my kitchen, 3 mornings a week, before coffee. Stand up straight in an open space. You don't even need a club, a broom works, or a yardstick, or nothing at all with your arms crossed. Set your feet about shoulder width. Now you're going to make one slow swing that takes 6 full seconds, counting out loud. On 1 and 2, start the takeaway with your torso and shoulders together, arms passive, feeling your weight settle into your trail foot. On 3, complete the turn back. Feel the coil, feel the ground under that back foot. Now here's the whole secret, the moment everything lives or dies. On 4, before your arms do anything at all, shift your weight and start turning your hips toward the target. The lower body leads. The arms are still finishing their backswing while your hips have already begun coming down. For one strange instant, your body is going 2 directions at once. That gap, that little stretch between lower and upper, that is the sequence. That is the whole thing. On 5, let the torso follow the hips, then the arms, then the hands come whipping through last. On 6, finish tall, balanced, weight on your front foot, and hold dead still for a 2 count. If you wobble, you rushed. Start again. Do that 10 times, 6 seconds each. That's about 1 minute of actual movement. That's the entire investment. The magic is in the slowness, because at 6 seconds your body physically cannot cheat the order. You have time to feel each handoff. And when you speed back up on the course, your body remembers the wave. It remembers ground first, hands last. You are not learning a new swing. You are teaching your body the order it forgot. I had a neighbor, 71 years old, bad shoulder, sworn off golf because he'd lost 40 yards and all his confidence. I taught him this in his driveway. No club at first, just the count and the towel image. 3 weeks later he called me, and he was almost shouting. He'd hit a drive that carried farther than he had in 5 years. He kept saying, I didn't even swing hard. That's it. That's the whole feeling. You stop swinging hard, and you start swinging in order, and the distance comes back like it was waiting for you the entire time. And it costs nothing. That's the part I keep coming back to. Nothing. No lesson. No gadget. No new driver. 6 seconds and the willingness to go slow enough to feel the truth. But there was one more layer the old sensei saved for last. And it's the thing I promised you at the start. The piece almost nobody in the golf world has ever heard, drawn straight from those old archery teachings. This is the part that took my sequence from fixed to permanent. Everything I've told you so far is about the order of movement. This last piece is about the pause, the gap, the thing the Japanese call ma. Ma is one of those words that doesn't cleanly translate. It means the interval, the space between, the silence that gives the sound its meaning. In the 8 stages of the shot, there is a moment at the full draw. The archer is at maximum tension, bow bent, arrow ready, and he does not release immediately. He holds, he waits. The old text described this waiting not as hesitation but as fullness. The release is not something you do, it's something you allow to happen when the moment is complete. Now here is how the sensei applied that to my swing, and I have never seen this in any golf instruction anywhere. At the very top of your backswing, the instant your shoulders finish turning and before your hands start down, there is a gap. Most amateurs don't have it. They reverse direction like a rubber band, hands snapping down the second the backswing ends. That's the reversal that scrambles the whole sequence. But if you let a tiny ma live at the top, the smallest breath of a pause, something extraordinary happens. Your lower body gets the chance to start first. The hips begin their move toward the target, while the club is still finishing its journey up. That gap is not empty. That gap is where the sequence is born. The old archery scrolls, the ones tied to the Heki tradition, treat this interval as sacred. The teaching, passed down for 500 years, is that power does not come from the pull. Power comes from the pause before the release. Rush the pause and you kill the shot. Honor the pause and the arrow flies itself. I brought that one idea home and it changed everything. At the top of my swing, I learned to feel a single quiet beat. Not a stop, not a hitch, just a breath of ma, and let my lower body slip into motion inside that beat. From the outside it looks like nothing. It's less than half a second. But inside that half second, the entire kinetic chain gets to line up in the right order. Ground, hips, torso, arms, hands, club. In sequence, because I finally gave it the space to sequence. Here's how you build it into the 6-second drill, and this is the finale, the thing worth staying to the end for. On your slow motion swing, when you reach the top, the count of 3, I want you to add a real, deliberate pause. A full second of stillness at the top. Feel the coil, feel the ground, and then, out of that stillness, start the downswing with your lower body, not your hands. Pause, then lead from the ground. Pause, then lead from the ground. Practice the pause slow, and it becomes an instinct fast. On the course you'll never consciously stop at the top, but that trained beat of ma will be there, invisible, giving your body the one thing it was always missing. Time to move in order. That's the whole secret. A 400-year-old archery school figured out that the pause before the release is where power is made. Sports science spent millions on cameras to arrive at the same place and called it transition timing. And a golf industry that profits from your confusion never told you, because you can't sell a pause. You can't put a price tag on a breath of stillness. It was yours the whole time. Let me tell you how the old sensei sent me off, because I think about it still. On my last morning there, I thanked him and started apologizing for how skeptical I'd been when I arrived. He waved it off. He said skepticism was correct. He said a man who believes everything learns nothing. Then he said the thing I've carried ever since. He said you did not learn a new thing here, you remembered an old one. The body already knew. You only stopped interrupting it. That's what this really is. You are not broken. Your swing is not a problem to be solved with the next purchase. Your body already knows how to move in order. It's known since you were a child throwing a ball. Somewhere along the way, a lifetime of rushing and a garage full of gadgets taught you to interrupt it. All you're doing now is getting out of your own way. So here's where I'll leave you. For 30 years, I believed the fix was something I had to buy. Something just out of reach. Something the next lesson or the next club would finally deliver. It was never for sale. It was a 6-second move and a moment of stillness that a quiet old man in Nara handed me for the price of listening. What was taken from you wasn't a technique. It was the simple faith that your own body already holds the answer. If you've ever stood over a ball knowing something was out of order but never able to name it, that was your body telling you the truth all along. You're the kind of person who suspects that the real answers got buried under everything that's for sale. You're right, they did. And they're still there, waiting to be remembered. Now I want to hear from you. When you do the 6-second drill tonight, and I hope you do it before you touch a club again, I want you to tell me which link jumps the line for you. Is it your shoulders firing first, your hands rushing from the top, or do you feel that pause, that beat of ma, finally letting your lower body lead? Tell me in the comments. Be specific. I read them, and the ones who name the exact leak are the ones who fix it fastest. And if part of you sensed watching this that real knowledge like this keeps getting quietly replaced by things designed to keep you spending, then you belong here with the rest of us who are digging it back up, one forgotten method at a time. Subscribe and stand with us. Because next time I'm going to show you the way those same old masters use their breath to steady the hands. A single breathing pattern from the archery hall that stops the shakes over a short putt cold. It costs nothing, it's 500 years old, and almost no golfer alive has ever heard of it. Before you go, one more thing. This video showed you the move. But the deeper part lives inside my membership, picking up right where we just left off. In there, you can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. And you won't be doing it alone. You'll belong with everyday folks like you inside the Quiet Wisdom Circle. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen. Cancel anytime, one click. Now, once your sequence feels smoother, there's one more piece that makes everything click. I'll show you a simple Japanese tip that trains your right elbow in the downswing for effortless power. It's starting right here.